We're going to talk about the 4 problems of life. Now, we've already given you a look at the 4 questions for life. You can look at those anytime you want. Right now, we're going to talk about the 4 problems. But I've got a disclaimer to tell you right in the very beginning. We're not going to solve the 4 major problems of life in a 10-minute video. No, that's your job. And when I say your job, I'm going to explain what that means in just a few minutes. But let me, first of all, tell you what those 4 problems are. They're politics, religion, money, and sex. And you've heard for many, many years those words. Of course they cause problems and issues. Some people will say, no, I'm political or I'm religious and we don't have any problems. But the world as a whole, humanity as a whole, is directly affected by those 4 problems. And the 4 questions that we asked you to consider earlier, to spend the rest of your life asking questions so that the answers come to you, are the forerunners of explaining to you the 4 problems and the fact that the missing piece of the humanity puzzle is one word. That's awareness. And by awareness, I'm talking about understanding how life works, all of it. I always mention the theory of everything. This is the story of everything. And these 4 problems that I just mentioned, and I'll repeat them several times throughout this video: politics, religion, money, and sex. Now let's take politics, for example. You may say, depending on what side you're on, that that's not a problem, but it is. And I'm not just talking about one country. I'm talking about the world here. I'm talking about the politics that we have throughout the world. So don't try to fine-tune this and try to label what I am, whether I'm a Democrat or Republican. And the next one, when we talk about religion, don't try to determine whether I'm a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew. The reality is that all of these things that I'm talking to you about fit 8 billion realities. They fit you in some way. And what the purpose of this video is just to make you aware that you have not been paying attention to these 4 problems. Because if you were, guess what? We wouldn't have these problems. We would be well on our way to finding our way to unify our thoughts so that when we die and repopulate the universal consciousness with good, positive thoughts and love for each other. So politics is pretty simple. Just by observing, you can see that the world is in chaos all over the world because 4 or 5 appointed leaders, and I know we've elected them in some cases, but the reality is those leaders are leading you based on the realities that they want to create. And yet, there are over 8 billion people. How does that happen? We'll get into that in future videos. But just know, just be aware that politics are upsetting the whole frequency environment that you live in. I'm going to get into that in a second. Let's go to the next problem. Religion. Some people will say, there's no problem with religion. Of course there is. Look at the separation that belonging to a religion causes throughout the world. And I'm not saying don't belong. I'm just saying start to think about it and follow the messages from earlier, from Moses and Jesus and the Prophet Muhammad. Follow all of those messages, and I'm going to throw in Buddha in there. But follow those messages so that you start to understand the power of the religious beliefs. And you'll understand where they come from. But they're not going to do humanity any good if we stay separated. That's the issue. That's how this whole thing we call humanity started in the first place. We separated from our Creator. And I've told you in the past, you can label that Creator anything you want. Label it universal consciousness, label it cosmic consciousness, label it God consciousness, whatever fits. The Creator created all of that as well. So the next step in life is to try to be aware of these four problems. Politics, we just talked about. Religion separates us. Now, let me just make this point as far as religion is concerned. We came together in large groups of people because we knew we wanted to unify and get back to oneness by helping each other. So we created a particular belief system. There's 5 major recognized religions, but there's 4,000 subgroups in those religions. And when we created all of that separation, somehow we got going down the path that your religion is right and the other religion is wrong, rather than pulling each other towards each other and saying, you can believe what you want to believe, and we respect that, and we love you for having the belief. Instead, we've separated. It's caused wars around the world just based on religion. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't believe. Believe. Unify. Get your thoughts together, because the power of a large group of people when it comes to prayer or manifestation, however you look at it, is going to be much more powerful than being an individual. So religion is not bad. It's how we treat religion that we have to look at. And that's the awareness I'm talking to you about. So we talked about politics or political things. We talked about religious things. The next thing we're going to talk about is money. Money is one of the major problems. People either have a lot of money, they have a little bit of money, or they have no money at all. And the problem is that regardless of your economic status, we need to pull that money together in our thoughts. And don't look down, if you got a lot of money, don't look down at somebody on the streets, because everybody on both ends of the spectrum are here for the same exact purpose: to learn what to do and to learn what not to do. And those people that have a lot of money, that give out lots of money in charity, I applaud you, because you are somehow fighting the norm and helping people that need the help. But make no mistake about it, regardless of what end of that spectrum, like I just mentioned, we're here to learn what to do and what not to do, and that's what's happening in the world. You are observing the world, regardless of your economic status. You're observing the world how it is. And that observation will fix things if we can come together in a dominant thought of love. And the last problem that I'm going to to share with you is sex. Now, men and women, it's no surprise, around the world, basically men and women have differences. Oh, that's brilliant, Don. Of course they do. But we have to get to the point somehow where there is not a separation between the sexes, but we have to bring together so that we can think through all of the issues that we're dealing with. So the fourth problem of sex, the third problem of money, the second problem of religion, the first problem of politics, are all problems that you just need to be aware of. And here's the big factor. You have to care. You have to care that something's happening in this universe right now. It's a shift in universal consciousness. And if you're not aware of the problems, if you're not asking the 4 questions that we've pointed out, you're part of the problem. So we can list you as problem number 5. But I bet you, side bet, I bet you that you're going to start to grow, to observe, and to change the world through your thoughts. That's enough for now. This is Don Saunders. I appreciate you. I love you all. Please share all of this information, not for me, but for all of us.